A major development tonight in our order of protection investigation from earlier this week.
We told you about a Charlotte mother jailed for ignoring a judge's order. She admitted to keeping her son away from his father because she argued that he was continuing to abuse drugs and alcohol. She was jailed for 11 days on contempt of court charges, and with the mother jailed, the judge awarded full custody to her ex and gave the mother limited in-person visitation.
And the mother contacted Queen City News asking for an investigation, alleging judicial retaliation for what she contends was her attempts to protect her son. Well, once freed from jail, she hired a private investigator to follow her ex. And this is what the PI found: her son's father using drugs in a grocery store parking lot in Cornelius last month. The father took a drug test a few days later, and it came back positive for marijuana.
That's you, right?
Yes.
You were doing drugs in the car, right?
I believe I was either smoking marijuana or CBD.
Okay. And so you're an addict, though, right? You acknowledge that?
Recovering.
Okay. And so you're always in recovery, right, as an addict?
Yes.
And as an addict, are you supposed to be doing any kind of drugs?
I wouldn't be advised, no.
Okay.
This testimony happened in front of the judge in a court hearing on July 1st, but the judge did not take the boy away from his father then. But that changed last week when a judge awarded the mother custody after she had her son drug tested, and that test came back positive.
Well, now another development tonight. The court has taken the child away from his mother again. And here's Chief Investigator Jody Barr with a follow-up to our order of protection investigation.
So I was sitting here and Roman was sitting here, and we were painting and we were watching some of his cartoons on TV and having a snack. And then all of a sudden I get a text message from Josh. It says, Judge McKenna rescinded your emergency order and she reinstated Judge Smith's 4/22/2022 order.
Meaning Jacque Kent had to explain to her son
I want to stay here for a little while.
why he can't stay once again. The reason: on Thursday, Kent's ex filed an emergency motion for custody, asking Mecklenburg County District Court Judge Paige McKenna to take the couple's 3-year-old away from Kent and to give him back to his father, Joshua Graham. Graham lost custody just last week after Kent had her son drug tested.
And it is negative for all of those except for marijuana right here, which is positive. It shows the drug screen. It should be 1 or below, and his was 6.4 picograms per milligram.
Days later, Graham had his son drug tested again. That test came back negative on Thursday. Graham's attorney filed the new drug test screen with a new emergency custody motion. The judge signed a brand new order Thursday.
So now we're turning Roman over,
temporarily giving Roman Kent back to his father.
She did not give any explanation. She basically reviewed Josh's motion for ex parte custody, and she decided to set aside mine and give him back sole custody. And there's no other explanation. There's nothing in here that states why she did that. There's nothing in here. Not even that I'm a danger or anything like that.
But her ex's custody motion filed Thursday detailed multiple allegations against Kent. Graham's attorney, Steve DeSillis, wrote that Graham vehemently denies he has ever exposed Roman to any drugs and that Kent's promulgating a false narrative against her ex and his family. They also told the judge the positive drug test Kent filed with the court was a false hair follicle test. The father's motion does not explain what that means or what evidence they have to show Roman Kent's drug screen isn't legit.
Yes, they apparently think that I am still delusional and that I can coerce labs and doctors to actually get a false hair follicle drug test for Roman, and that it's just another attempt for me to deprive Josh of his relationship with Roman.
How would you falsify a drug test?
That is the question.
Kent went back to the lab to find out.
I went in for a quick, I believe it is a 10-panel urinalysis, and to also ask the people that drug tested Roman's hair a few weeks ago if it could be falsified. They definitely said it cannot be falsified. It's impossible. They would lose their license. My test came back completely negative for a 10-panel urinalysis I just took.
Why did you test yourself?
I tested myself, so there was no question to the court, to the judge, to Mr. DeSillis or Joshua Graham that I have any type of drugs in my system.
You're trying to rule yourself out as a source.
Exactly.
The drug test Kent ordered for her son is an exposure test known as Child Guard. The United States Drug Testing Lab website claims this test is the only test designed to detect passive exposure to drugs in children, meaning the test can detect whether a child's contacted drug smoke, skin oil of a drug user, physical contact with drugs, or ingested drugs. Typical hair tests cannot test for exposure, according to the drug lab website. Kent and her attorney contend the typical hair test is what Joshua Graham ordered for his son.
I wanted to see what kind of exposure Roman was actually having with Josh's drug use, if at all. So that is why I chose that test.
Kent suspected her son was exposed back in June after she hired a private investigator to surveil her ex.
My private investigator is filming Joshua Graham smoking out of a pipe.
Graham, who had full temporary custody at the time, failed a drug screen less than a week later, showing positive for marijuana. Graham later admitted under oath he was using drugs in the video, but that his son was not in the car at the time.
And as an addict, are you supposed to be doing any kind of drugs?
I wouldn't be advised, no.
Okay. If we take your word on it, you were smoking marijuana, which is illegal, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you took your urine test, right? And that urine test said that marijuana, right?
Yes.
And then you took a hair follicle, right? And that also said marijuana, right?
Yes.
Sir, yes or no, please?
Yes.
Graham and his attorney told the judge Thursday that Kent was unfit and that Roman was subject to substantial risk of injury if left in Jacque Kent's care. They also accused Kent of presenting no credible evidence that Graham exposed his son to drugs or harmed his child in any way. The motion also claims Kent exaggerated her son's medical conditions, calling them special needs, and accusing Graham of being unfit, all in an attempt to keep him from his son.
The only thing that has always been in here to say that I'm unfit is that I have not followed a court visitation order and allowed my son's father, Josh, to see him for all of these reasons that have now come out in the past 3 months. There's nothing else in here that I'm a danger. There's nothing in here that says anything clarifying me as unfit, but only doing what's best for my son and protecting him.
Do you think the court relied upon the allegation that you had a falsified follicle test?
Yes.
How difficult would it have been for a judge or an attorney to pick up the phone, call a lab, and verify the legitimacy of a test?
Not difficult at all. As a matter of fact, the head nurse at Any Lab Test Now today told me the judge can literally go to this medical review officer labeled at the top of my son's drug test results and contact him, and he will tell you everything there is that she needed to know if this was false or if this had been tampered with in any way. Their job is to protect children and to make sure they follow the standard of the best interest of the child. And I have absolutely nothing on my record except for being in contempt for protecting my son from his father, and it still continues to come down with the blame against me.
We again sent multiple messages to Joshua Graham and his attorney, Steve DeSillis, to schedule an interview. But as in our first investigation, neither responded. The judge's latest order does not provide Jacque Kent any further in-person visitation. She's only allowed one 10-minute FaceTime call with her son once a week. There is a hearing set for Wednesday morning in Mecklenburg County where we could hear testimony over those 2 different drug tests and where a judge could make a decision on permanent custody.